for attending.
Hi, Graham.
I'm going to take you through a quick tour of OCT angiography. What we'll talk about today is how the technology works in brief, what the normal eye looks like, particularly Cameron's eye, and some case reports of patients I've seen.
You called me normal.
In a typical retina, most of the structures are fixed. The only object that's typically going to move are the blood cells within the blood vessels. And by sequentially imaging the same location, exact same location, 2 to 4 times, you can detect motion within the blood vessels. Once we subtract any stationary images away, then all we're left is the blood flow within the blood vessels. It's really the same process that our medical practitioners use in MRA scans, where you get imaging of the blood vessels, so that's the circle of Willis, again, using just no contrast medium, no dyes, just using MRI technology to take sequential images. Okay, so why is OCTA better than fluorescent angiography? There are a couple of advantages. One is speed. We can get a scan of the retina very rapidly, very quickly. We don't need to do injections for optometry. That's important because part of our scope of practice does not include angiography like it does in some of the states in the United States. There's no risk of anaphylaxis. Some patients are sensitive to injected fluorescein. You don't need to have resuscitation equipment handy. You can image both eyes. With the typical fluorescent angiography, you've got to pick one eye and image that one, because you haven't got time to image both eyes at once. You get a much higher image resolution, especially at the capillary level rather than the main blood vessel level. And you have the ability to image different layers of the retina and the choroid simultaneously. You don't have to choose fluorescein or indocyanine green. You can do both at the one time. And then a big advantage is you can do some software analysis after the fact and look down to the different layers and segment them and observe them in more detail to find what you're looking for. So where is an OCTA particularly good? Number one, we can't get blood flow rates with OCT angiography. Things like arteriovenous transit times, you can't get arm to retina times like you can with Angio. However, there's some new software coming out from Nidek called laser spectral flow graph, which can actually look at blood velocities within the vessels. I've seen videos of it where you'll see the retinal vessels pulse with the heart rate, and then you can see the blood flow velocities in the major arteries and veins. So that'll be interesting when that's available to us. With OCTA, you don't have the ability to image active leakage like you can with fluorescein. And you do get a smaller field of view. With regular fundus camera angiography, you get 45-degree view. With the Optus wide field angiography, you get 200 degrees. With OCT, you're really looking at 9 by 12 millimeters, probably the maximum. With fluorescent angiography, you can also stain the retina where the disc stains in the late films. Drusen will stain as well. Chorioidal scars will stain also. Okay, this is an OCT angiography of the normal eye. There are different views you can use with the Nidek software. I find this one the most appealing because you have the equivalent OCT image and the equivalent OCTA image side by side. I'll have a look here at the layer. So the internal limiting membrane, you can see on the OCT image all the retinal nerve fibers. But on the OCTA image, you can see the major arterioles and some of the capillaries. This figure here, or this legend here, shows you the layers that's being imaged. So from the internal limiting membrane to the inner plexiform layer in a nuclear layer junction. And the +8 means another 8 microns posterior to that junction, so towards the outer retina. This next layer is the middle retina, so you're looking at the inner plexiform layer junction, 12 millimeters posterior down to 87 microns posterior, sorry, not millimeters. That's down 92 millimeters away from the inner plexiform layer, down to exactly the RPE level, and that's from 4 microns below the RPE right down into the choroid. And in the software, you can go in and change those figures. So if you want to make the slice a bit thinner or a bit thicker, or take a different part of the retina, you can do that, which is very clever. You'll notice the foveolar avascular zone, where there's no vessels till you get down to the deep retina. Okay, there's a montage. So these are 4 3x3 millimeter scans of the eye montage together. You can do a 6x6 scan in one go, but the resolution is a little bit lower, so this is the way to achieve higher resolution. So these are the 4 layers that I showed you before, 4 different segments. You can color code them by selecting depth color, and it will color code each of the layers so you can observe them simultaneously and look at the different depth of tissue in the angiography scans. I find, however, this individual view to be more useful to me rather than the 4-color view, but you have got that option. So here's an OCT of the optic disc. The layers are a little bit different. This one, again, at the internal limiting membrane, at the level of the nerve fiber layer. This is down to the RPE. So that's where you get your Bruch's membrane opening, the opening of the disc. This is down at the choroid level, so 125 microns below Bruch's membrane. And this is at the lamina prebrosa level, I think 374 microns down. So again, it's a slightly different view, but you can check the vasculature of the disc. I haven't had a chance to scan any patients with severe disc damage to see what happens to their blood vessels, say in the ischemic neuropathy, but it'll be interesting when we get hold of those. Okay, let's do some case reports of some abnormal eyes. So this gentleman has got a long history of type 2 diabetes with moderate diabetic retinopathy and some clinically significant macular edema. He's got some microaneurysms close to the fovea, a rough spot up there. His other eye's got some big hemorrhages as well, and a macroaneurysm also. So here's his typical OCT macular map, where we're seeing some significant macular edema and some cystoid edema on the cross sections, up to 474 microns, so quite significant macular edema. With the OCT-A scan, the OCT at the level of the nerve fibre layer looks fine. The vasculature looks fine. They eventually shut down those vessels. That's a driver for producing VEGF. VEGF then leads to neovascularization and more leakage. So, looking at that, I thought, all right, that's what capillary dropout looks like. But then I woke up in a sweat in the middle of the night thinking, what if I've got this wrong? What if those cysts of fluid are pushing the capillaries away? Maybe they're pushing them up a layer or down a layer or to the side. And maybe that's why we're seeing these areas here. Maybe it's not really capillary dropout. So the next patient that came along, a younger guy with type 2 diabetes, with also some cystoid macular edema. And I did his scan, and lo and behold, we don't see, even though we've got all those cysts in the retina, we don't actually see the capillary dropout. You see all the microaneurysms, there's heaps of them there, but you're not seeing any capillary dropout. So I think that is true capillary dropout rather than vessels being deviated. And that sort of makes sense because these are not true cysts, they're not encapsulated with epithelium, they're actually cystoid, so they're spaces that have fluid in them. I assume the fluid's going around the capillaries rather than pushing the capillaries away. Alright, so this is another patient. She's got a history of wet AMD with choroidal neovascular membrane. She had a series of injections of Lucentis since 2012 to 2014, and then the ophthalmologist decided to stop. This is her OCT. Her fovea is actually here, but because of the disciform degeneration, she uses her superior retina to fixate. So the macula is actually here, and you can see the choroidal neovascular membrane just there. When we do an OCT angiography of that area, we're not really interested in the middle retina or inner retina, but when we get down to the choroidal level, we're really seeing an absence of blood vessels there. So even though that's a neovascular membrane, it looks like it's quiet or dormant or scar tissue. And I'm very confident in monitoring that patient rather than referring them for further anti-VEGF injections. The only concern I have with these scans is that when you've got a disorganized retina, how accurate is the OCT at finding where Brooks membrane is when there's no Brooks membrane? So, you know, you can see that membrane's pushed up, everything's disorganized in that area. So what I did was I went through and adjusted those thickness layers to have a look through different layers of the choroid and found no vessels in that area. So I was quite confident that it's a quiet neovascular membrane. Okay. This is a lady who I was scanning for another reason, and we found a small pigment epithelial detachment, a small PED. You can see it just there. Brooks membrane and the RP have separated from each other. So I thought, why don't we take an OCT angiogram scan of that area and have a look what it shows us. So we know that there's something leaking there, that's a little bit of fluid. And when we do the scan, remember this is not at the fovea, so the fovea is here. We're scanning in the middle of the frame, and you see, once we get down to the choroid level, you see this little frond of choroidal neovascularization, just a little small cauliflower-shaped group of vessels that's leaking and causing that little pigment epithelial detachment. So, in central serous retinopathy, we often see a little PED, and then you'll get fluid breaking through under the retina and getting a sensory retinal detachment. In this case, we've just got the little PED, and I'm quite comfortable to follow that. And if it does start to spread closer to fixation, or we start to see the choroidal neovascular membrane expanding, then we can refer her for some treatments. Okay, this is another case report, choroidal neovascular membrane with a question mark. So this is a very fit and healthy 92-year-old male with his 94-year-old wife, who still drives, and he came in to see me in January, then came in a few months later saying my vision in the right eye's suddenly gone off. And his vision had dropped from 675 to 612. When we looked at the retina, I know he's got a history of dry AMD, he's had some drusen there for a long while, but nothing else of interest. When we did the scan, we see a pigment epithelial detachment and some intraretinal fluid. However, on the fundus exam, we didn't see any blood at all, so I couldn't see any hemorrhage at all. So I'm thinking, okay, in a 90-year-old with dry AMD, fluid at the macula, that's got to be a presumed choroidal neovascular membrane. So why don't we do an OCTA scan? So you can see the intraretinal fluid showing up on the OCT scan. Nothing wrong with the vasculature there. Down at the RPE level, it's fine. Down in the choroid, it's fine as well. It's quite dark, no new vessels showing at all. So I'm thinking, is this choroidal neovascularization or not? If we think back to our angiography days, fluorescein angiography days, we know that there's two types of choroidal neovascularization. What we call the classic, which shows up early on the fluorescein angiograms and stains very distinctly. And then you've got what we call the occult choroidal neovascularization, which is just diffuse leakage and we can't really track where the blood vessels are. So I thought maybe this patient's got an occult CNVM. So I sent it to the retina specialist. Thank you for seeing Livio Sullivan's OCT scan revealed a PED with intraretinal cystoid edema. Fundus exam did not reveal hemorrhage. OCT angiography did not show a choroidal neovascular membrane. I suspect occult CNVM and would appreciate your assessment with angiography and commence anti-VEGF treatment if necessary. So a week later I got, this will show you what those classic CNVMs look like. So this is in the early stages of the angiography. You can see it lights up really well, there's some hemorrhage there. And the occult one doesn't tend to light up till very, very, very late stage and has very diffuse leakage. So that's what I was suspecting. So this is the report back from the ophthalmologist. Everything normal, minimal drusen, small PED, intraretinal edema. Angiography showed a PED with no leakage. So just some fluid in the retina. but the angiogram couldn't find, the fluorescent angiogram couldn't find any leakage anywhere, both in the early and the late. So no treatment indicated, and he wants me to review in 2 to 3 months to see what happens. So I'd say the OCT angiography did a good job this time. It didn't find the membrane, and the fluorescent angiography confirmed that there was nothing there. Now, if I get another one of these cases, would I trust the OCT angiography, or would I still refer? I'm not sure yet, but if I do it a couple of times and the OCT is clear, I'm more likely to monitor that patient rather than refer them away for fluorescent angiography. Thank you. So following this, if you'd like more information about the OCT angiography through the Nidek system, you can come down to the Design Division stand,
And live demo.
and we'll give you some live demo of how the scans work and run through them with you. Thank you.